Hold on. All right. Welcome to episode 47?
Yes.
Episode 47 of those poorly named Muckrakers. I'm Pete.
And I'm Pat.
And boy, this week has been a million years long, but it's great because we're all going to live forever.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, as long as every week continues to last until the end of time, then we'll never reach the end of it. Just like that paradox of the ant and the rubber band. If you keep stretching it out faster than the ant's walking, will he reach the other side?
The Trump presidency,
yes, but
scientists have wondered for years what it would feel like to go into a black hole when you hit the singularity. And to you, time just like to everyone else, you're just trapped in time. Like you just stay there and for like millions of years.
Yeah, but to you get to experience your body going through spaghettification, which is what the Trump administration is to America's democracy, just pulling it to the breaking point.
Today, kids, the word is spaghettification. Can you use it in a sentence? Yes.
Yes. Yes. Oh my God. So
why does no one laugh at my jokes?
I didn't get it. Anyway.
Well, I just imagine if you were being spaghettified, you'd scream a lot, right? That's how you'd use it in a sentence, but you have to explain it.
Oh, how would you use spaghettification in a sentence? You'd use it like this.
Yes,
okay, I get it.
Exactly. Or Waldo's reaction every time he opens the news. I was hoping you would do the same screaming again. I don't know why your screams make me laugh, but it's got to be the same way that Lindsey Graham masturbates to immigrants trying to get here.
Oh my stars! Oh my stars! Oh my stars! Oh my stars!
Old Lindsey Graham Dubois.
That's my impression of Lindsey Graham's O face.
Oh God! Again, we're not going to get into sponsors unless the sponsors.
Cortez, Miss Cortez, please sponsor us. Brought to you by Spider Milk.
All right, so man, the news has been crazy. Do we want to go with R.B.G. just first and foremost?
Yeah, I'm down with R.B.G. Yeah, you know me. Who's down with R.B.G.? Yeah, you know me. I'm down with R.B.G.
Justice Ruth Bader. I think
Ginsburg.
that the B could also stand for Ruth Badass Ginsburg.
Ruth fucking Badass Ginsburg. Okay.
She is incredible. She is also 90 million years old. Supreme Court Justice.
A 90 million years old woman hanging on to life by the cusp of the thread of fate itself, the golden thread, like Hercules has, is what stands between democracy and damnation for our country.
85 years old, 85 years young. She had a great saying once when I think she had just become a justice, when she said about women's rights. There was this, and I'm gonna not do it in justice, but she said something like, "We're not asking for any advantages. We are merely asking for you to take your foot off our neck." Well, and I'm like, God, yeah. So, she recently broke some ribs.
I like that because it reminds me of the opening to the show Daria. Like, "You're standing on my neck" is one of the lyrics.
You're standing on my neck, Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Na 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 na.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she recently fell and broke some ribs, and that was horrifying because I'm serious, like, democracy's dead if she goes, right? So, well, that happened, but while she was being treated for that, they happened to find something while they were doing x-rays of her ribs. They found something else in her chest, lung cancer.
I'm just hoping that not even lung cancer can beat her.
Turns out it can't because they did emergency surgery today, and they got the cancer out. They got all traces of it out, and now they're saying they can't find any other traces of it anywhere. She is expected to make a full recovery because they caught it really, really early, and they only caught it early because she broke her ribs.
The thing is, like,
And she went into work today, sort of. She rode in to work because the Supreme Court weighed in on something today.
She rode in on like a steed, just with like a sword of justice, like.
W-R-O-T.
Oh, rode. I thought you said she rode in, and I'm like, yeah, it's fucking metal. I hope she rode in on the back of Clarence Thomas. Wait, is that racist? If you have to ask, it is. I didn't choose him because he's black. I chose him because he was the first justice to come to mind.
We did not choose it because it's easy. We chose it because it's hard.
We did, yeah. So, The thing is, I love Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and she's amazing. But our democracy should not have to rest on these strong shoulders of a broken ribbed, cancer having 85-year-old person. We should not be so fragile that we're going, boy, I hope this person lives for just another 4 years.
Well, it has to rest on her shoulders because right now our Compass's moral fiber cookies are resting on their laurels as the deplorable in chief seeks to destroy us all.
Because it's the unfairness of it all that this guy who's been handed everything as complete fraud gets to be president during a time in which you get to possibly appoint multiple justices to the Supreme Court.
Yeah,
how does that happen?
Terrifying. Well, it's actually a 40-year plan by the GOP. They've been trying to set this up for a long, long time, and it's all worked out spectacularly for them, except for the fact that it worked out too well, and their base elected a complete moron. Like, he's not only a con man, but he's someone who's only failed up his entire life.
Yeah, so there's still a chance to get Ivanka and Kushner on the Supreme Court.
Yeah, that could still happen, and I know what you're saying, nepotism laws, right? Here's the thing. If Trump's breaking the laws, who's going to stop him? Are you going to stop him? No one's going to stop him because he's above the law. Right now, the nepotism laws say that Trump cannot have Kushner and Ivanka working in the White House. Guess who works in the White House? Now, I know what you're thinking. Wasn't Robert Kennedy, John Kennedy's attorney general? Well, yes, and it's because of that we have nepotism laws. They were put on the books in 1967, 4 years after Kennedy died. So it is illegal for Trump to be appointing Kushner and all of them to like his new chief of staff, but he can do it anyway because who's going to stop him?
Speaking of new chief of staff, have you seen Stephen Miller's hair?
Yeah.
It's great that
he's spraying painting it on now, or you know that
no, he took it off. So
he took it off. He took
the
it
guy
back off.
who
for a while there, you know those things that's like the little metal shavings that you could give that one guy a beard. It's a children's toy.
Woolly
he was
Willy.
Using that on his head. Yeah, Woolly Willy. He was Woolly Willying his hair.
So the thing was, I think it finally got to him how terrible he looks and how evil has aged him, like the Emperor from Star Wars. So then I guess he was like, I'll just do some spray on hair, and then
my toupee is quite operational when Wolf Blitzer arrives.
So the whole world went, oh my God, that is clearly not your hair, Woolly Willy. So then he came back on for another interview later on and he took it off. And I'm just like, God, I wish he had doubled down and just spray painted the rest of his head. Or maybe stop being evil.
Cover his whole self up like Cousin It.
Or maybe stop being evil and your hair would stop fleeing from you.
Yeah, that's probably not going to happen, though. I mean, he thrives on evil and crickets. He eats crickets.
He does look like a guy that eats crickets. He looks like a weird reptile, like an evil reptile that just he eats crickets and hates immigrants.
Yep. So, speaking of hating immigrants, Christie,
Did he eat the immigrants? Is that how we solved it? He just went down to the border like Kirby and just inhaled all of the immigrants.
I can picture that. His body swells. He's like, woo!
But would he
spits them all back out like stars?
Would he do like Kirby? Like, since he ate a whole bunch of Latino immigrants, would he suddenly be wearing like some traditional Latino clothes, like a sombrero and a big mustache? Because Kirby kind of looks like whoever he eats.
Yeah, I picture him definitely turning into the most racist version of a impression of a Mexican. So he'd have like the huge sombrero, probably like
I mean, he's already the most racist version of a person from New Jersey.
That's true. So yeah, that's definitely what he would turn into.
So what happened with him?
So this is the very God. There's so many news items for this week. I just wanted to start at the furthest back news item.
All right, further back, furthest back news item jingle.
This is Christie was given the chance to be Trump's chief of staff. And this is a guy who was once so thirsty for Mr. Toad's Wild Ride that he went and got Trump McDonald's, right? He is the toadiest of the toads.
Why do you think that Trump hasn't opened a McDonald's inside the White House like Richie Rich?
I don't have a good answer for that.
He's like the kid from Blank Check who never learned a lesson at the end of the movie.
Right, right. I mean, Trump absolutely is. He was born with a silver spoon up his ass. He's been given everything his entire life, and he's never had to face any consequences to it. There was, okay, before I get to this, because I have a great Woodward quote that has to do with that. But yeah, so Chris Christie, this guy, said no to chief of staff.
Right.
Nobody wants the chief of staff position. And Chris Christie said no because he said family issues, right? But all of his kids have moved out, and he doesn't live with his wife. So what family?
Maybe that's the issue. He's like,
I'm sad.
I'd rather come home to an empty house than bring this guy McDonald's.
Yeah, did I just hear a cat?
Either a cat or somebody outside my window is screaming.
Help me! Shut up, I'm podcasting!
It could go one way or the other in Brooklyn, you know?
Yeah. Okay, so Woodward said, this is something Bob Woodward said that really stood out to me. And this is a quote.
Give him an old Englishman's accent.
When Trump was in New York real estate, people would do deals with him, and they would call it the Donald risk. They would make sure they did what they made sure they did. God, if I can say that right, was they'd structure the deal so that he couldn't get his hands on the cash flow, because what would happen is he would just take the money out of it. So they had to make sure he couldn't do that.
Yeah.
Bob points out that Trump behaves in blatantly criminal manners. He does nothing but untrustworthy actions with everyone he works with, and everybody knew that he did this, right? Everyone knew that he did this, but they stuck up. What are they going to do? Call the police? Then they start giving away all the rich white people's secrets on how you rip people off. He was a white criminal he was a criminal's criminal, right? He's someone that robbed from other rich people to give to himself.
He was basically the equivalent of a guy that rips off drug dealers, except he was a white-collar criminal that ripped off other white-collar criminals.
Right, and there's no mob justice amongst white-collar criminals, because I guess there's...
I don't know how it never caught up with him. Like, I don't know how he never took a nosedive from his office inside Trump Tower. I guess maybe he never quite pissed off the right people.
I mean, yeah, he's always been super friendly to Russians, and they're usually the ones that make people trip and fall on a bullet. But,
or make them trip and fall off of a 20-story balcony. Or make them trip and eat nerve gas. Or trip and eat nuclear waste.
So Bob Woodward says this is one of the many reasons why one of the biggest political scandals in American history is Trump never showing his tax returns, because it would show a lot of these crimes.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that's going to change. That's one of my big gets I hope we get from the house flipping. You actually perfectly dovetailed into the other thing that's happening right now I want to talk about, that we've talked a little bit about. So they started a GoFundMe campaign for Trump's stupid wall, right? This dumb wall, it's a waste of money. We don't need it. It doesn't work. If you want to put money into border security, that's fine, but a wall's not the way to go. To give you a little background, the government's going to shut down because he demanded, I think it was $5 billion, or he would shut the government down. We talked about it last time. So they started a GoFundMe campaign, and from what I've seen, you know, the conservatives that are duped by all this are like, man, look at that. We started a GoFundMe campaign. It's already at $3 million. And I go, you do realize that $1 billion is 1,000 millions. If I ask you for $1,000 and you go, we've already raised $3, man, we're on the way there. No, you're not. You're not even close. But the reason I bring that up, and you brought it up before I could bring it up when we were talking, but I thought this was great. Basically, this GoFundMe campaign, however much it ends up raising, they're going to hand that to Trump, and he's going to steal all of it.
Yeah, he's just going to pocket it.
Yeah, he's going to put it in his pocket. And I like that somebody else opened a buy ladders for the wall campaign. So they're raising money for a wall. Someone else is raising money for ladders to get over the wall. But our veterans are still suffering.
They could be raising this money to help veterans, wounded warriors, and all that. Which the person who started this GoFundMe campaign is a wounded warrior. So why he wouldn't be more aware of those issues, I don't know.
Was he wounded in the head?
I mean, he was a one-arm, no-brain, lion, purple heart getter. I don't know.
Did they get the part of his brain that thinks through things?
Maybe. But the fact of the matter is that let's
They're not
say
gonna-
they
they're not
magically
gonna raise-
raised
yeah.
let's say they magically raised that money. It's actually illegal to give it to Congress. Even if they gave it to Trump, it would still be illegal for him to give it to Congress to pay for the wall. And also, the GoFundMe is going to take a huge chunk of that as part of their fee for them setting this up. Also, if they continue to raise it at that same staggering initial rate, well, not even that staggering, but if they continue to raise it at that rate, it would take them about 50 years to pay for the $5 billion wall. Also, $5 billion is not how much the wall's going to cost. It would cost more in the ballpark of trillions of dollars.
Right. So the $1 billion that they would raise would basically be the money that you would
the
put
$1 billion they'd raise in 50 years would be
enough to put gas in the trucks and put materials on the trucks and get them to the border. So this
actually we have to build the infrastructure to get them to the border. So it wouldn't even get them that far.
So yeah, it's a fool's errand, and I really do believe that if they won't get anywhere close.
The wall's more than just the wall. It's infrastructure required to actually move stuff to every part of the border, so they can keep moving stuff in and out.
And nobody can
be like, what about all-terrain vehicles? It's like, God damn it, there are mountains, there are lakes, there's all kinds of shit that is inaccessible to people. There are small parts of it that we can access, and that's usually where the cameras go, but there's plenty of parts that are way more difficult to access.
There is a reason why the Great Wall of China took so many generations.
So much human suffering. There's a reason why it's full of skeletons of the people that made it.
It's full of dead people because, you basically worked on the wall till you died, and then your son would come work on the wall till he died, and ultimately it still didn't do any good. So I just thought that was, it's dumb. There's so many other things to waste your money on, like contributing to our Patreon whenever we open it.
Oh, yes, please give us $11 million, because we promise you that we will not let Trump pocket that $11 million.
Yeah, we haven't opened a Patreon yet, but you can find us and Venmo us, and I'm telling you, if we can raise $1 billion for this podcast, we promise you guys all some really cool goodies.
Oh my God, yeah, give us $1 billion for the podcast, and we'll definitely donate a chunk of that to veterans, right? So that'd be a nice way of giving back.
I'm going to build Spider Skull Island.
I'm going to get a boat.
You get the boat because we got to get to Spider Skull Island. Then I'm going to build Spider Skull Island.
We will. Pete and I will reenact the song "I'm on a Boat," except it'll just be like the two of us, tone deaf assholes, trying to sing along to that song the best we can. It will be really, really bad, and you will love it. I promise.
You're killing me, man. Again, you're thinking small for $1 billion. Look. We buy Spider Skull Island.
I mean,
we set up a pirate radio station to send out our podcasts and our own version of InfoWars from Spider Skull Island. And I think that'll be a good place to start, right? And then we give the rest to wounded warriors or children with mumps or whatever that people are giving money to now.
I'd be tempted just to give the rest of it all to Wesley.
I kind of would love to see what he did with $1 billion as much as I'd love to buy Spider Skull Island.
I think his dad would take it and just buy $1 billion worth of lottery tickets.
Maybe. So
son, I'm gonna be rich. Have all these lottery tickets. Oh, we're gonna be so rich. Just wait till we cash them in. All those sweet earnings.
Damn it,
Dad, that was my money.
I've seen people do that. When I used to work at the gas station, these truckers would come in and just buy like $500 in lotto tickets and be like, "I won," and I'm like, "But you started out with $500. You did not win You did not win $500. It seemed to me that you probably could have invested that in almost anything else."
Yeah.
But so that's going on, and then so Trump is going to shut down, and the government's supposed to be shutting down in like 5 hours.
Yes. Oh my God, I nearly forgot about that. Big news for tonight is, let's see, it's 8 right now. It is in 3 hours and 45 minutes because it's 8:15 right now. My time.
And we'll be podcasting the whole time live, 3 hours until the government shuts down, rocking around the clock.
Well, maybe, yes, we'll tell everyone that we're doing that, but we're just not recording it, quote unquote.
Yeah, we're actually recording just our regular hour, and then we're going to go away.
Yeah. But yeah, so exciting news. The government shutting down because, oh my God, did we? Yeah, we did. We did talk about, the last one was named the Schumer shutdown or whatever.
I can't understand. What I don't
Smocking
understand.
Shutdown.
Why they can just go around. If he vetoes it, they can just revote it, right?
Let's starting from the beginning. Trump decided that he would shut down the government if he didn't get his border wall, and the same border wall that they started a GoFundMe to try to pay for, laughably. And so he buckled like we knew he would, like he had for the last 2 years, and he was going to sign the bill. And by the way, the new spending bill passed the Senate 100-0, right? Every single last senator voted for it. They were ready to go home for Christmas.
They know that if you shut down the government before Christmas, you might as well shoot yourself in the dick on C-SPAN because you're not getting reelected.
It was some of the best reactions I have ever seen from senators whenever they found out that Trump had the bill. All he had to do was sign it, and he could go do his 17-day vacation at Mar-a-Lago, and he decided not to sign it just to be a petulant child and say, no, I want my wall, sad.
Wait, he didn't sign it, but he didn't veto it, right?
I mean, he vetoed it. It's gone now. They have to pass a new spending bill.
So why don't they just take the old one, do some selective copy and pasting, and then pass it?
The House started to do that, but then they decided to buckle and try to give them the wall, and so they added $5 billion for the wall, and it's not going to even pass the House, and the Senate is already telling them, no, you're not getting your votes from us. So now it's all like congested, and McConnell's come up and he's trying to say, well, $5 billion really isn't that much money, so we should just go ahead and do it. Even though this exact same fucking turtle said that $3.4 billion was too much money to spend on our children. It was like some kind of child nutritional or medical program or something last time. Going back to February 20th, the last time the government shut down for like 12 minutes or something, McConnell didn't want to do it over $3 billion for children's health care. That's what it was.
So can Trump veto his veto? Can he unveto it?
No, it doesn't work like that. They've got to go
So if he can't unveto it, then
again.
the government will shut down. There's no way to unshut it down, right?
They would have to get him a bill before midnight, and a new bill before midnight, and he'd have to sign it. For the listeners, we had some technical difficulties there, so we had to pause, and now we've restarted again.
Yeah, I will quote myself in that I was so annoyed. I said I wish Skype had a neck so I could strangle it.
That's the bane of many podcasts, is that Skype is shit, but just like the American government, it's shit. But if you look anywhere else, you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, some governments like Canada, Sweden, every other developed first world country is a little bit better, but like every second world and third world country is not so much.
Is there Swedish Skype?
No, I don't think their better government extends to a better Skype.
I bet if there is a Swedish Skype and we put our podcast on it, there would be some kind of great equity to where they'd be like, oh, welcome to Swedish Skype. Try to say Swedish Skype 10 times fast. Welcome to Swedish Skype. We've also added a minority and female element to your Skype to balance out the equity. And we'd be like, oh, that's nice. New voices. Okay.
Yay.
Back to Spider Semen.
Yay, Spider Semen. Okay, so we were talking about, what are we? Oh, the veto. He cannot veto his veto. They have to come up with a brand new spending bill before midnight, and he has to then sign it, or else the government shuts down at midnight. Now, what does that mean for America? It means 500,000 people, 500,000 government employees will have to. Now, is this are these all furloughed workers, and then 50,000 have to continue like essential services, or is it 500,000 are essential services? I don't recall the numbers.
I'm not sure, but I know essential services generally have to work
500,000 rather.
Mostly they have to work without pay.
Yes.
Because
essential services have to continue working without pay. So these are real people going to real jobs for no money, unlike the president, who, by the way, is about to go on his 17-day Mar-a-Lago vacation, which will cost an astronomical amount of money to the taxpayers, which the government continues to pay for. You continue to pay for him going and playing golf and charging the Secret Service astronomical rates to stay in the rooms, because he tripled the price of the rooms at the Mar-a-Lago, right?
Which is illegal.
Right, it's illegal for him to profit off the Secret Service, who have to go there. They have to be there for him. So because they're bound to go there, he can charge them anything he wants. And that means the taxpayer has to pay for their rooms, and then Trump pockets that money, the taxpayer money, directly. He is stealing from the American public directly, and nothing happens because the, what's it called? The amalgam clause? Whatever it is, it's an E word, apparently doesn't apply to him because Trump is above the law. He commits crimes like people breathe, and he just gets away with it.
So,
Anyway, but all
you're-
that's a long-winded rant to say we have to keep paying for his lard ass.
Yeah.
But American workers doing real jobs, they have to go work for free
I feel like you're going back into the
over
same rant.
Christmas. Over Christmas.
I've got important questions to ask.
Okay,
Can he infinitely veto the spending bill? Can they not
yes.
pass it?
Yes, he can. Like, who's going to make him? Who's going to make him sign it? He can keep this up forever.
So he can veto it, but then, like any other law that he vetoes, doesn't it just then need to go back and get a 2/3 majority to pass?
60%.
60%. So why can't this spending bill just go back and then get passed again?
They can, before it passed by 100%. They can keep doing that endlessly, and he can just keep saying no to it, though.
But my point is, once he's vetoed it, from my understanding of the government, president vetoes it, they can go around the president if it goes back to a vote and they give at least 60% or 2/3 vote yes, right?
You mean go over his head and pass it anyway without him signing it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe.
I mean,
are you Googling it?
Now I have to Google this because
I was pretty sure that he could block it forever.
No, I don't believe so. First thing Google, can Congress override a shutdown? I feel like we should know this. Kiora, they know stuff. But while I'm looking that up, so the other thing that's interesting is France is having riots right now, and the police may actually join the rioters for better pay. And so what's going to happen is, I think if you shut down the government, because he's like, we'll shut it down for a long time. If you shut down the government,
France or Trump?
If you shut down the government around Christmas time, and you're going to infinitely shut it down, you're going to have riots in the street. This is going to be the end of your party.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Like,
okay, so here it goes.
It says, go ahead.
It says the president does have power to veto bills, including spending bills. This initiates a government shutdown because government agencies will no longer be legally allowed to spend the money that pays workers. Congress has the power to override such a veto. This is the kind of shutdown that occurred in 2013 when they decided not to even pass a bill for the president to sign. The president, who has the power to veto bills that raise the debt ceiling, this would initiate a government shutdown in a slightly more indirect way. According to this, like, they can veto it, but it looks like they can go around him, even though it's really going to hurt the U.S. economy. So that's according to Quora, which is pretty good.
Speaking of the economy's the stock market is in free fall right now because of this looming government shutdown, which should not have happened. Like, it blindsided everyone, and it generated some of my favorite quotes I ever saw of, remember Collins from, where Stephen King's from?
Yeah.
Maine. Collins from Maine. She, whenever she heard this, she was like, "Wait, He didn't sign it? Are you trying to ruin my life?" Whenever they asked her in the hallway about it, because all the senators had no idea that he just screwed them all, because they were on their way out the door to go home. That's another thing, is that we don't have a 2/3 majority still sitting in the Senate right now. They're all gone. Like, most of them are going.
Yeah,
Mitch McConnell's still there, and he's right now arguing pro-bill, but he doesn't really. He definitely doesn't want the wall, because he didn't try to go for it. He's never tried to go for it. Right now they're trying to spin the narrative around to say that it's the Democrats' fault. But it's just like the Schumer shutdown was never the Schumer shutdown. It's the GOP shutdown, and that was back February 20th, right?
Yeah.
That was the GOP controlled all three branches of government, the House, the Senate, the executive branch, and the Supreme Court, and they still ended up shutting down for a few minutes, right? And then they tried to blame Chuck Schumer, which is ridiculous, and no one with a brain bought that, but they still call it the Schumer shutdown. And this one, Trump said, I'll call it this Trump shutdown. I'll gladly do it. I'll gladly shut down for the border wall if I don't get my way.
Again,
and they're even Trump is still trying to say it's the Schumer shutdown now. The Democrats did it.
So according to this other thing I'm reading too, according to the U.S. Constitution, in order to override a presidential veto, like I said, a 2/3 majority of the House of Senate and the House of Representatives is required. So if it passes, if the other one, I guess, if it goes back to the House and the Senate, since they've all voted for it, I guess they could still they could override his veto.
Do 2/3 of them need to be present, or just 2/3 of the people who can vote? Because,
That's
like
a
I said, a lot of them are gone.
Yeah, that's a really good that's a good question. I don't even know how to phrase, but I wonder if they'll come the fuck back because once they go, they're gone.
One of them was heading out the door. I can't remember who it was, but he's like, "No." They asked him, "Are you going to be voting?" He's like, "No, I'm heading back to my home state." And he just got in his truck and took off.
Yeah, so I feel like if you can get 60% or 2/3 to come back and vote, which I think is what they're probably going to do, because a shutdown, any way you slice it, any way that you try to blame someone else, either way, any way you do it, a shutdown on Christmas is like one of the worst looking things you can do.
Yeah.
And we already know that the races are going to be tight, and I do think that because if it shuts down, they're going to have to come back on Christmas, or if they don't, they're out till what, February?
No, just 2 weeks. And
Oh.
in 2 weeks, the new Congress comes in.
Oh, well, either way, man, maybe they'll let it shut down so the new Congress has to come back in.
Possibly.
Yeah, either
Very
way,
likely. A lot of them are doing that.
I mean, it's huge, man. But yeah, I'm looking at people on the streets. You know what I mean? This is insane.
That's why I'm really hoping Trump sticks to his guns and just doesn't sign any bill and just really digs his heels in for the border wall.
Is he already is he already gone though? Is he already in Mar-a-Lago?
I think so, but I don't know.
Because I can't imagine him signing anything while he's on vacation.
I can check. Hold on.
I mean, it doesn't matter because he's gonna go either way. I can't imagine him working
Yeah.
this close to Christmas.
I can't imagine him working.
Yeah,
But,
so that's a big thing. But like I said, Congress. That's the thing about the government is the House and the Senate. They have the power to basically run the government without him as long as they're in agreement. You can shut the president out, and that was the way it was meant to be. And that was the way it
Yep.
should be. One man should not hold this much power to hold this much power over this many people's lives.
By the way, I've only covered 1 out of 5 pages worth of notes that I had prepared for today.
All right, next note after the looming shutdown.
Let's see. Very quickly, this isn't even in my notes because it just happened before we got started, which is the Supreme Court news I was telling you about with Justice Roberts.
Oh no, what did he do?
So, remember how I said earlier that R.B.G. basically came into work today, right? She's still going to work today, unlike Trump. She's still going to work today after having cancer surgery.
Yeah.
Well, that was the work. They voted on a bill today. They voted on the bill to see if is it okay for America to begin giving the boot to asylum seekers.
Oh Jesus, what did they vote?
5-4 in favor of blocking Trump's stupid bill.
Good. At least somebody still has some backbone in government.
Justice Roberts has, as we predicted, become the new swing vote. Because Rapey Kavanaugh said, we need to kick out all the brown people. The other deplorable said that. But Roberts is now the swing vote. He has truly stepped up to the mantle of not letting the GOP just get their way.
The thing about asylum is, so they're trying to force them to wait in foreign countries while they're waiting for asylum. The whole point of asylum is...
you get the fuck out.
Yeah, you get out because you'll be killed or, hurt or maimed or whatever while you're waiting for asylum. And look, there's no reason why we can't...
It's like if your house is on fire and they're like, no, you can't leave until the firefighters get here. Stay inside.
Yeah,
but it's on fire.
There is
inside.
There is no reason why you can't let asylum seekers in, process them, and if you're really worried about them, put a GPS anklet on them and give them a caseworker that checks in with them just like parole until their asylum hearing. There's no reason why we can't do that. Except for this weird xenophobic, the people are coming in, process them, man. If you're really worried about MS-13 getting in, process them. Like a normal human being, put them through a process, keep track of them. They don't need to be in detainment camps, which is a whole other thing. And yeah, give them their day in court. That's the thing I've been arguing this whole time is that our whole principle is it goes all the way back to habeas corpus. You have rights. You are afforded an attorney. You should be. Everyone should be. You should go to court. You should see a judge. There should be a deliberation over your case. No ifs, ands, or buts. And we can do that, and we should do that.
So, are you ready for something a bit more fun?
Is this prison reform?
Not yet. God, I don't even have a note about that.
Well, they recently passed the thing, and it scratches the surface, but they're trying to do prison reform so that they're basically
as Trump's entire family now faces prison, they're suddenly super interested in reforming prisons.
They're suddenly like, oh, we gotta, maybe some nice anklet. Like, hey, look, man, I'll take prison reform any way we can get it. Like, prison should not be for profit. Prison should cost us astronomical amounts of money that we should see so that we want to put less people in prison.
Yeah, prison reform is like ending the war in the Middle East. Even if Herpty Derpty's doing it for all the wrong reasons, such as he wants to give a present to Putin, such as a couple countries, Syria and Afghanistan. Well, at least it's happening. At least we get to take the troops home at the worst possible time.
Yeah, that brings us right into. So he's pulling us out of Syria and he's pulling us out of Afghanistan. And as much as I'm just I don't like the idea of, because I know he's doing this at the manipulation of the Russians, because there's no way he would do anything good on his own.
Yeah, he wants to gift Putin Syria. He's like, here you go, you can have it. By pulling the United States out, it frees that country up to be conquered by Russia.
I say, Russia, if you want Syria and you want Afghanistan...
Russia, if you're listening.
Yeah, if you're listening, have it. Because I think you're about to swallow something that you do not want to swallow.
Yeah.
And it seems that you... Yeah,
they've been there before, right? And it, destroyed their army?
Yeah, so, in the 80s, Russia went into Afghanistan, and I can't remember what American politician or CIA guy was like, it's finally happened. The Russians now have their Vietnam. Because, the Russians were helping the other side during Vietnam with us, and we hated it. And so then we were like, well... maybe we can just give guns and missiles to Osama bin Laden. Not ever thinking that would come back to bite us. But yeah, I do think that we need to withdraw from...
And he would always be our grateful ally.
Yeah, we need to withdraw from endless foreign wars. We were talking about this earlier that, as much as I hate it, look, these places in the Middle East and Africa...
but hey, it's not like Trump has a letter of intent that he personally signed saying that he wanted a Trump Tower to be built in Moscow or anything.
I love that. As that progresses with Trump's intent to get stuff from a foreign government, Rudy Giuliani was like, that never happened, and then CNN, God bless CNN, then they dropped the papers, the receipts that showed that Trump had signed it, a letter of intent, and Giuliani did that thing that all criminals do and go, what? I said what? I don't think I said that. That's crazy. Why would I say that? These aren't these aren't my pants. These are someone else's pants. That's why the drugs are in them.
Yeah, it's just funny that the letter of intent to build a Trump Tower in Moscow dropped the exact same day that he decided to gift Syria to Russia.
Yeah.
So, he's definitely in Russia's pockets.
The thing about it is with these countries is they would be able to stabilize and fix themselves if we would stop funding terrible governments because they were friendly to us and stop selling arms to everyone.
Well, speaking of selling arms to everyone, you know how and speaking of pulling out of Syria, you know how the military's sort of been the de facto president of the United States up until this point?
Oh, God, yeah. So that's another big thing.
General Kelly is the chief of staff who is departing, and even Christie says no to that position. We talked at length about it in the last podcast, so I guess I won't get into it again. But the other major military guy was Mattis. He's the defense secretary who is the other president of the United States doing Trump's jobs for him.
Yeah.
And he is the fuck out of here. He is actually the very first defense secretary in American history to retire in protest.
So imagine that you imagine for instance that you are like the problem child from the movie Problem Child, and then halfway through the movie all the adults just leave.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. And it's bad when a guy whose nickname is Mad Dog is like, yeah, I'm out.
The guy named Mad Dog was the voice of reason in that administration.
Yeah.
And with him being gone, all of Trump's military babysitters are gone.
I wonder, though, if they're leaving because there's some big stuff going on that we don't know about with all the Mueller investigation. I wonder if they're leaving because they know it's endgame.
Trump Trump wants to leave NATO. He's already like broken the treaty that made it so Japan couldn't have nuclear weapons. So now by 2020 they're going to begin on their nuclear weapons program.
Yeah.
Like that's a huge shifting in the world's powers.
Well,
like,
that's
Mattis
because
is looking
China
in on
has
all of this in horror,
Yeah,
and
well,
he makes that clear in his resignation letter.
It's because China has nukes and North Korea has nukes, and so Japan wants to be able to defend itself.
Trump broke the treaty with them, and so now they can have it.
Yeah. I mean, like, Japan now is very different from the over-militarized Japan of World War II and previously, but no more, like, having more nukes is not a good thing for the world. It becomes a more destabilizing influence. I mean,
Yeah,
have you read
it's really,
about
really
what
bad.
have you read about what Pakistan does with their nuclear weapons?
What do they do?
So instead of like everyone else where you have like a super secure facility, from what I understand, Pakistan basically has their nuclear warheads at any one time riding around in a van so no one can steal them.
I love it.
Yeah. So that's great.
The,
Yeah,
fuck.
so I'm hoping that like Mad Dog, I would say I say a lot of things about Mattis. I definitely have issues with Mattis, but if someone, I would never question his patriotism. I do believe that Mattis loves his country above all else and would die for it and like, do many things for his country. So I have to believe that if Mattis is leaving, he's not gonna be like a captain that just abandons the helm of the ship. I got to imagine that he knows that it's going to be endgame and he's just avoiding the fallout.
Possibly, because he's not leaving until February 20th. So
Right. Because he doesn't seem like the guy that would just be like, fuck it.
Yeah. Speaking of the captain not being at the helm and all that, speaking of death, speaking of roaming nukes, if anyone's not aware, Mattis made sure he had a policy in place to where if Trump ever wanted to launch a nuke, Mattis personally had to approve of the process before he's allowed to launch the nukes. He had that all set up, just like they did with Nixon near the end of his administration when he was drinking all the time and no one trusted him around the button.
Get those dirty hippies.
I would no sooner nuke you than I would nuke my dog, Checkers. Shut up, damn it! But Mattis is leaving now, and that means that failsafe is leaving with him. That means Trump will have unlimited access to nuclear weapons they're trying to remove that tumor.
I disagree. I fully disagree. I think you're underestimating how smart Mattis is, and I don't think Mattis would leave without a contingency plan in place. Whether Trump has no access
the thing is that the thing about the nukes is that everyone that works with them are extremely highly educated, and they know what's going on. They're not just going to let Trump nuke anyone.
Right. So
I'm pretty sure at the end of the day, they're not going to let him do it regardless. But
I can't imagine that Mattis would leave without at least rewiring the nuclear launch button to like a sleeping dart. So he presses the button, it just puts him out, like something. You know what I mean? He hits it, and a cheeseburger falls out of the ceiling, and he's like distracted.
I stole the button and I hid it in the one place Trump would never look for it: the vegetable drawer in the refrigerator.
I was gonna say somewhere near Mattis's testicles because he doesn't know what those are. But yeah. So no, I have more faith in Kelly and Mattis than that. I don't think they would walk away and leave the country, the world in danger, because they're both military men. They understand the realities. They're not like a civilian guy that like is never, fucking Mattis was the head of Centricom, I believe, like basically like U.S. military operations for a long time before he took that job. Like, he's a smart guy, and I don't think they're gonna just leave this dude to like, explode the world.
Planet.
Yeah, I don't think so. There's another contingency plan. There's stuff happening behind the scenes that we don't know about. Like I said, maybe it's already in place, like Trump's removal,
Aye.
Or the other idea that they've kind of got his kids in a vice, and his kids may go to jail unless he steps down. Which, honestly,
gotta hope so. But I honestly think that Trump would let them go to jail before he'd step down. Then what are they gonna do?
I don't know, man. He loves Ivanka as a daughter and also as a sex object. I can't imagine that he would let her go to jail. I think if they confront him with an overwhelming amount of evidence that he needs to step down, and the prosecutions will stop, because I think that's the deal they're going to strike with him, because impeachment's hard and it's messy.
he lives in a fantasy world, though. I don't think he'd believe them. He'd be like, they're just telling me lies because they're fake news witch hunt. I'll just get someone that tells me what I want to hear.
Maybe, but whenever like his kids are on trial, and like, even Giuliani's like going, you got to leave. Like, I mean, Fox News is turning on him. I think once everybody in the world is shouting at him that like, you got to go or you're going down and your kids are going with you, I think once he realized he is completely defeated and Fox News is completely turned on him and he sees, Fox and Friends going, oh, the president needs to step down, I think he'll do it.
Maybe. I mean, he had actually gotten ready to sign that. He had already told McConnell that he had signed the spending bill until Fox News said, I can't believe he's going to sign the spending bill. And he's like, okay, never mind, I won't do it.
Maybe the spending bill is his last fuck you before he goes down.
I hope so. Holy shit.
Maybe he's the reason he's doing that is because he knows he's not going to make it to re-election. He's not going to make it to the rest of his term, and he's going down, and like maybe he realizes that. So,
speaking of not making it to the end of his term, do you want to hear about the trade deal news next, or the Second Amendment people news?
Let's do trade deal because I'd like to end with something exciting.
Oh, we're not even close to the end yet. USMCA trade deal. This is something that Trump has been trumpeting lately, saying it's so good we got rid of the other thing and now it's the USMCA. He really does sing the YMCA songs. Like just think of the YMCA. It's USMCA. Okay, sad. But anyway, he's trying to say there's a narrative that he and the deplorables have been pushing lately that's been pissing me off, so I just want to nip that in the bud before it gets out there anymore. And they're trying to say that the renegotiated trade deal with Mexico, America, and Canada has already paid for the wall. It's already paid for the wall, okay? Any money made from a trade deal benefits private citizens and private businesses only. The government does not make any more money off it. And I know what you're saying. Wouldn't they be able to tax them more? To which I would remind you of the tax scam for the ultra wealthy, right? The ultra wealthy all get major tax breaks, and they definitely the government definitely lost way more money from that tax scam than they would ever be able to make back from a renegotiated trade deal with Mexico and Canada. Also, it wasn't actually renegotiated. They just sort of renamed it so Trump could feel like he did something. It's the same trade deal, basically. They moved some things around, and they renamed it, and that's it. Anyway, the government's not making money off the trade deal. The government can't make money off this trade deal.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, the whole thing about it is, like...
as far as the mega tax cuts go, that actually brings me to my That's Cute news.
All right, what's cute today?
All right, so how about that trickle-down economics giving the ultra-wealthy phenomenal tax cuts at the cost of making the middle class small, pushing them all back into poverty?
How about that?
All right, so U.S. companies have spent $1 trillion this year on buying back their own stock, and this is a record number for a single year. That's according to TrimTabs, an investment research firm. So, fun fact, $1 trillion is more than the gross domestic product of 166 countries. Trump keeps bragging about the economy. BM Markets posted an article stating U.S. stocks are on a course for their worst December since the Great Depression. Not recession, depression. Richard Stiegel points out, welcome to the Trump economy. Dow is 1,000 points lower than when the White House got its tax bill passed last year. By the way, it's at 2,300 lower since he said that. Individual one likes unpredictability. Wall Street doesn't. So basically, the tax scam bill not only fucked over the middle class, but it ultimately didn't help the rich either, outside of, a single quarterly report. But that's how they think, right? They think in quarterly reports. Because
the whole thing
this is what happens when people are stupid enough to only report things quarterly.
Remember, he only thinks in sound bites like it's a reality show. He doesn't have a long-term plan. He doesn't understand the economy. He's surrounded himself with people who don't understand the economy. And we keep saying that, like, the stock market is not the only indicator of economic health, but also now that that's falling, it's like the storm is building. The bottom is going to fall out. It's inevitable with all these bad decisions. Eventually the chickens are going to come home to roost and we're going to be eating our shoes.
Yay, chickens!
I mean, with the stock market falling and then the government shutdown, basically what happens, from what I understand in my own, real dumb guy kind of understanding of like the economy, so much of it is based on consumer confidence, right?
Right.
if you could start a rumor that like the economy is terrible, and get it going, the economy will be terrible. So and that's the thing about the stock market is it's all speculation. So once you start hearing words like worse since the Great Depression, government shutdown, that can start a domino effect where people lose confidence. And once people lose confidence in the stock market,
Yeah, by the way, the stock market is all imaginary. It's based 100% on confidence. So once they lose confidence,
right.
it's like a Tinkerbell. It can't fly anymore. It just
And we've
drops.
been,
It
and
plummets.
yet, he's been doing little things, and everyone's been super confident because it's that whole, it's that branding. Oh, he's a money guy. He's got some kind of scheme. But when it doesn't rebound, then he realizes he's got nothing. Like farmers are already killing themselves because they're doing so badly.
Yeah.
And that's where depressions begin. If you look at the last... Go ahead.
Trump said something about a farming bill he passed and then posted a video of him singing Green Acres today.
Yeah, he's fucking delusional. But, like, that's where the Great Depression started. It started with farmers losing their shirts. And then on top of that, you had ecological disasters. So what do we have right now? We have farmers losing their shirts, and we have ecological disasters. Then you throw in the stock market, and once the bottom drops out of that, everybody's in the breadline.
Yep.
So
let's see here. We got we already covered this. It's a new segment I was gonna call I have no mouth and I must scream news. That was gonna.
Well, we do have a mouth. It's called this podcast.
Yeah, but that's the RBG news, which you already covered.
Yeah. I just wanted to get that out of the way first and foremost.
And do you want to cover in Alice in Wonderland news?
What happened to the Second Amendment people? I thought you were going to tell me about that.
I'll get to that next to last.
All right, what's going on with Alice in Wonderland?
Alice in Wonderland news. In Russia, authorities are now painting the snow white this year to cover up how polluted it is, according to Moscow Times.
What happened to Russia? That used to be the kind of place that they would tell you to tell everybody the snow was white, and if you tried to go, oh, it's paint, they would just shoot you, and then they would tell the next person to go, there's no pollution. They would go, yeah, there's no pollution. I saw what you did the other guy. What are you doing, Russia? You used to be so scary, and now it's like the Trump is having an effect on Russia too, where they're like, we just painted the snow, but people figured it out.
Now, as good as the quotes were about Trump shutting down the government, the ones of Mattis quitting is even bigger. Like the ripple effects from that is insane. Like, let me read you this one bleeding heart liberal response to that.
Okay.
Just read General Mattis's resignation letter. It makes it abundantly clear that we are headed towards a series of grave policy errors, which will endanger our nation, damage our alliances, and empower our adversaries. Now, do you know what far left Democrat said that?
Mad Dog Mattis?
Marco Rubio.
Yeah, little Marco Rubio, man, that guy's a dyed-in-the-wool politician. He will. I like to think that his heart's in the right place, but because he threatened to beat up Alex Jones, which I love.
That was funny.
But like Rubio's the kind of guy that will like he will vote down like gun legislation, and with the other hand go, we have to protect our children. What, from you? Like I don't. How do you? All right, you're an ambidextrous politician. I give you that. I guess you got to win them Florida votes.
Just like Jeff Flake. Which he's gone now. Like he's already left the building. He's not voting on it tonight because he is on Colbert's show. So
I like to imagine that Flake is in some seedy hotel just measuring rope for a noose in the closet because he's such a sad sack.
Maybe.
You know what I mean? Jeff
It was
Flake.
like there was a dozen good quotes about Mattis, but that was one of my favorites.
Yeah, man. It's like I said, he's got a plan. I got to believe that Mattis has got a plan. The cagey old Marine general has got a plan. There's something happening. Like he wouldn't, unless he did just leave the wheel and he's like, I'm too old for this. Like
I'm
I
too
hope
old
not.
for this shit. Fuck you all.
Yeah,
all
I mean,
right,
Mattis seems like the guy he's 3 days to retirement and he's like, I got one more job. Damn, 3 days to retirement.
Yeah. So are you ready for Second Amendment people news?
God, what do they do now? How many kids did they kill?
The Trump administration just banned bump stocks.
Yeah, but that doesn't really, like, yeah, I get it. They
It's-
shouldn't be legal, but it doesn't really do anything because it's easy to modify, but it's better than nothing, I guess.
I know. Hilariously, Obama had his people look into doing this twice, and they concluded that the executive branch did not have the authority to regulate bump stocks. Also, this means that Trump is now officially more anti-Second Amendment than Obama ever was. Suck on it, deplorables.
Yeah, but you got to remember, it's all about the narrative, and everybody was like, scary black man's going to come take your guns, and that sold guns, you know?
I know it was always about the narrative and not reality. Well, this is reality. You elected someone that is taking your guns away. Ooh. Anyway,
Yeah.
So the last thing I have on my lengthy list, because, God, there was so many things this week, is just a quote from Brecca on MMO Champion, who I think summarized this year in a wonderful way.
Is it just you screaming again?
Basically, but my throat's so dry at this point, I think I'm just going to read it in a calm, collected manner, like I like to imagine he thinks as he types.
So calm.
All right, summary of 2018 Trump administration. Over 30 high-profile resignations or firing. Loss of almost all of his agenda. GOP loss of the House in a matter of days. Trump losing profits and businesses. I forgot to cover that. We'll get back to it. The world turning against the United States, a looming recession brought about by his own words and actions under a tax cut that had no effect, tariffs, inflation and trade wars, and, yes, multiple investigations, with more on the way, indictments, plea deals, and convictions. Trump shutting down the government, but in more ways than one. Are we tired of winning yet?
Yeah, like I said, What frustrates me the most, and it's the same problem with climate change, some people are so, I don't want to use the word dumb, I guess ignorant of the ideas of cause and effect, that they can only think of cause and effect in the way of touching a hot stove. Touch a hot stove, I get burned, right?
Right.
They don't see the long-term effects of like economic growth, environmental disaster, stuff like that, right?
Right.
They can't see any further than like, I touched a stove and it wasn't hot, but it's like, but it's heating up, and at this rate it's going to burn your house down. And that's what just drives me crazy about the president and everybody going, how was your life worse now that he's been president? I'm like, well, luckily for me, or unfortunately for everyone else, I'm a white male, so I'm generally the last one to feel it. But everyone else is, and it's bad, and it's going to get to me eventually. Like,
well, we have empathy for others, so we can look at Puerto Rico and go, holy shit, that is a lot of fucking lives that was lost because of Trump's incompetence.
For no reason. For absolutely no reason. You could have sent the military in, like, no reason whatsoever for that. Like,
right.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is like, this sort of idea, these people, and I hate to throw around the word about white privilege, but like, people living so snugly in like their privilege snuggies, and not seeing how bad the world is for other people, and not understanding that like it's gonna come for you, man. Climate change, the economy falling apart, just basically making the planet unable to support human life. It's gonna get us, and at the rate we're going, it's gonna get us in our lifetimes. Like, it's not gonna be a thing we just pass on to our kids. It's going to hit us too.
Yep, Man Bear Pig is real, and he's coming for you. Okay, there is one thing I forgot. I like sort of skimmed over it.
I didn't mean to soliloquize, because this is supposed to be a comedy news podcast, but like,
no, I see it as sort of a soliloquy giving podcast.
Maybe
from
we
time
should
to
just
time.
call ourselves those soliloquy guys.
The Soliloquakers. So the Trump Foundation has been ordered to shut down by.
I was so worried when I heard that the Trump Foundation was going to shut down, and I go, no, they can't shut down, because I want them to be investigated.
They are. They can still be investigated after it shut down.
Okay, that was my fears. They were going to do the old Carney trick where they realized where they realized the rubes were onto them, and they're like and like they just take the tent down and jump in their old timey cars and speed away to the next town. That's what I thought they were going to do, but I guess the rubes caught on, and they're not going to get to do that.
Yeah, so it's always been just sort of a place for him to criminally funnel money back to himself. He asked for money for, the Trump Foundation is supposed to be a charity foundation where people donate money, and he gives it to various charities, like he dispenses it. Hillary Clinton's Clinton Foundation actually does do that, and it's And Hillary Clinton's Clinton Foundation is rated more highly than the Red Cross, same as it was back in 2015 and 16 when Trump and his shills and Facebook memes were all trying to pretend like the Clinton Foundation was a criminal empire. Like the Trump Foundation actually is and actually has been proven to be, and it has been shut down under an overwhelming amount of evidence that all he has ever done with it is give the money back to himself. He's never given a dime to charities. He's always stolen the money.
I made the mistake of looking into charities one year, like, the Red Cross and Goodwill and the Salvation Army. And I swear to God, man, it's like picking up a rock and watching all the bugs run out, because Goodwill basically criminally abuses what's the word here? The mentally disabled by paying them far under minimum wage and calling it training, so they're not actually employees. The Red Cross, a bunch of their money just goes to their CEOs. The Salvation Army hates gay people and will give money to people and things that hate gay people. And so it's just God, it's better to not give my money to these people now, because at least my money won't go to hurt a gay person or hurt the mentally handicapped.
Yep.
Or in the Trump Foundation, it won't just go to fund Trump's criminal golden empire.
He actually spent a lot of money on portraits of himself.
Yeah, but I feel again, he's a wasted rich person, because I guarantee that none of the portraits are cool. There's none of him on a giant steed or fighting a dragon. You know what I mean?
Like Putin has.
Yeah. Look.
Yeah,
Putin's an evil, terrible person, but I guarantee the Russians know how to be rich, and it's buy a gold-plated AK-47. Invite people over to shoot polar bears in your living room.
But yeah, so New York Attorney General Barbara Underwood has ordered the whole thing to be dissolved under the supervision of a judge. So they're trying to make sure that they don't sneak away with anything.
Yeah.
And also, Trump, Eric, and Don Jr., and I think Ivanka too, maybe, but at least the first three I named are no longer, those and Kushner are no longer allowed to ever run a charity again. Yeah. They can never own another one.
It just comes back to the thing about we are a society with laws and rules, and everyone has to at least seem to be adhering to them. You can't let people, especially people in charge.
But what was the punishment? Their punishment was you just can't do that anymore, and they don't even have to give the money back or anything, just you have to stop. That's insane. Imagine if you could rob all the banks you ever wanted until you were caught.
Yeah,
until you're caught, then you can't rob any more banks.
Imagine I went around to every gas station, they have those little things put quarters in for a leukemia kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, just imagine I've been taking the quarters out of those for years, and then finally I went to a judge, and they go, okay, you can't do that anymore, but you can keep all the quarters you stole.
Right, that's basically what they did. They were stealing money from charities. This is money that would have gone to help people that instead Trump mostly just used to pay for his own lawsuits, because people do sue him for being a criminal, but he's been protected by just this endless line of suits, because you do know he's in the middle of over 3,000 lawsuits, right? He was way before he started running for president.
If there is a hell, and this is not it, I know that I am going to go there, and I know that the Trump family is going to go there. And I do hope that whatever ghouls, goblins, or demons that are there to torture us accept cash tips. Because while I'm being tortured, I'm going to slip them a tenner and be like, yeah, just crank up the intensity on that whole family.
You slip them a tenner, I'll slip them a bass, and
we'll
all sing the songs of their wails and screams.
I'll be like, do you guys take money? Can you maybe pitchfork him a couple more times?
But how Trump is able to protect himself is that he's actually, his lawsuits are just like the bed of nails effect, where he has so many things wrong with him it's hard to focus on one, and so his deplorable followers just can't stay focused. They just sort of look away, and they're all like, well, Clinton, Hillary. His lawsuits, to quote Weird Al Yankovic in one of his songs, I'm proud to say you're not the only critic of mine, so if you'd like to sue me, I'm afraid you're going to have to wait in line. Take a number. Thanks for calling. Why don't you stop by again and have a nice day?
I like to imagine that, oh man, I wish that they would just do all the lawsuits at once, so he has to just sit in court for 30 years, lawsuit after lawsuit after he has to just stay in court. We're going to schedule them all back to back to back to back.
I would love to see that happen, and then you'll finally have to fucking deal with all this bullshit he has caused.
I mean, I like to imagine the same effect is why, his unhealthy life has not killed him. Is that if you do enough things wrong, I just imagine that like the diseases and all the stuff like that are just like
They
look,
talked
man.
about that with Mr. Burns.
Yeah, like look, like we can't even. There's so much we can't even get in there.
They called it the Three Stooges effect, where all three of them were trying to go through the door at the same time. Whoop, 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 whoop.
Yeah, like heart disease, cancer, and dementia are just jammed up somewhere in his colon with all the beef, and they can't get out.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
Oh no!
yeah,
So I'm invincible, is what you're saying. Oh no! Even the slightest disruption would be catastrophic.
either that or
Invincible.
somehow he's a Kryptonian, and he's just powered by not so much the yellow sun as
The orange face.
yeah, he's powered by orange tanner, and it just makes him invincible. Yeah.
Oh god.
I mean, we wouldn't know if he was Superman anyway because he's so inactive.
He's so fucking lazy.
Can you imagine Superman, but like with Trump's demeanor to where like he's never tried to lift a car or like done anything? He just doesn't know he has powers because he's just a lazy piece of garbage.
And now he's gonna go take a if he just gave up his 17-day vacation, we'd have the $5 billion we need for that stupid fucking wall, or at least
I
get
said it
started
before,
on it.
and we're at the end of the list, right?
Yes, it's finally
I said
all
it-
done.
I said it before, and I'll say it again. This is my solemn pledge to you, the listeners, and to the people of America. This is my patriotic duty. If we get the $5 billion for that wall, and it is in any way constructed with my tax money, I'm going to do the math to find out how much of my tax money was taken for that wall, and I'm going to assess how to do that much damage to the wall, and I am going to go down to the border. I don't care if I'm arrested or shot. I am going to take my money back out of that wall. Maybe we'll film it, maybe we'll live podcast it, and then I can give the proceeds to needy families.
I'm 100% down for a live podcast at the wall.
I just imagine it's me running at the wall with a hammer and chisel and just being riddled with bullets by border
Leroy
security.
Jenkins!
Pap, 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 pap.
Instead of
Least I
whelps,
have-
it's like, I don't know, mini border guards! Handle it!
My last, at least I have chicken. Pop, pop, pop. Like, they just shoot me.
Left side ice! Right side ice! Mini ice! Those are actually two different Warcraft videos, but still, you get the idea.
Yep, that's my plan to the listeners and to America. That's everything for this week. So I guess stay tuned for the coming apocalypse.